Yo, what is good, YouTube, and welcome back to another JC2K video. In today's video, we're doing episode number 34. At least I think it's number 34. It might not be, but I'm pretty sure it is. Of I Build Your Teams, a series where I build my viewers' teams into the best teams possible for my team unlimited and or competitive play based on how much MT they have and what their team is currently looking like as well. Before we hop into the video, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help me push towards the 5,000 subscriber mark on the channel. I upload every single day, and I would really appreciate your support if you haven't already, if you do subscribe. Additionally, if you want to be featured in a future episode of I Build Your Teams, make sure you follow me on Twitter. Link is down in the description below, and be on the lookout for a tweet about this series on Friday nights. Drop your team under that tweet for a chance to be included in the next video. But without further ado, intro over. Let's hop right into it, and let's check out the first team today, which comes in from Black Starzy. He's got 1 million MT on PC, so I will admit I don't know the PC marketplace, so that's definitely going to change things a little bit, but I'm going to estimate based on the way I think it is. I think the PC marketplace is a little bit cheaper than the Xbox and PlayStation one, I'm pretty sure. So he said he wants to upgrade the bench, and I agree with that because your starters are very, very solid, really, really well rounded. You have the 3 best cards in the game in Ben and MJ and Yao as well, so that's super nice. For me personally, the weakest spot on your bench, in all honesty, would be your backup point guard, your backup small forward, and your backup center. And in all honesty, I think you could upgrade all 3 of those positions. The first thing that I would be looking to do is add an Andre Kirilenko. He's an absolutely elite card that came out today. Start him at the 3, bring Draymond off the bench, solves that issue right there. Andre's going to be 150k. Backup point guard, I would replace Josh Giddey with Zach LaVine. Giddey's a solid card, but I think LaVine gives you a lot more, especially offensively, in terms of his versatility and things like that. And then finally, backup center Dikembe Mutombo can be swapped out for one of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Kristaps Porzingis, depending on which card you think you'd prefer, because both of those guys are really, really elite options. And I do think it's pretty much opinion on which one of those guys you actually personally want to use on your team. But yeah, those are the 3 upgrades that I'd make to make this team as good as possible. Next squad today comes in from KoolAid. He's got 200k MT and is clearly in need of a backup center. And KoolAid's got a really solid squad. MJ, Giannis, Ben, and Lucas. So he's got elite backcourts in both his starters and his bench. I'm pretty sure he plays on next gen, so I'm not entirely sure why he's not starting Luka, but whatever he's comfortable with. Has 2 elite backcourts. John Isaac and Ben Wallace give you really good locks, and then Sigma and Nedelicki are elite power forwards. Yao is the best center in the game. So at that point, you're just looking for a backup center. And with 200k MT, unfortunately, I don't feel like you can get one of the 2 top options, which is going to be either Kristaps Porzingis or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Without the ability to get one of those 2 cards, I think you have a couple of options. Your first option would be to plug in a guy that you might have in your collection, such as a Ralph Sampson or Hakeem Olajuwon or somebody like that, as a placeholder while you save a little bit of MT and try to get to where you can buy Kareem or Kristaps. Or I think you could even potentially look to sell one of your more expensive cards, which might be a Michael Jordan, or honestly, probably lead Giannis, because I think out of these 4 guys in your backcourt, he's probably the weakest link. I think you could potentially sell Giannis, replace him with a more budget option, at least temporarily, and start Ben and MJ, or Ben and Luka, and then bring MJ and a more budget option at the shooting guard position temporarily off the bench, and then add a backup center like Kareem or Kristaps. So you got a couple options there for sure. I really do think it's up to you in terms of what you actually decide you want to do, or if you just want to wait and see for a few days and wait till you can get Kareem or the KP. The rest of your team, though, is absolutely elite. Really doesn't need changes at all. Next squad today comes in from Mary. He's got 430k and is in need of a PG. He plays on next gen. He's got a solid budget. I mean, a pretty good budget team, but he's also got some top tier cards. He's got guys like KD and KP who are very expensive, and then has those top budget guys like Draymond, Jermaine O'Neal, Jack Sigma, and D-Rob, as well as Cassie Russell. Robert Covington is an elite lock. You need a primary ball handler. That's really your biggest need, I would say. And I think the one guy who's going to fit into that price point without spending all of your MT is going to be Zach LaVine. I think you pick him up, plug him in at the starting PG position for maybe 250,000 MT, leaves you with close to 200,000 MT left. And one other thing I would actually recommend doing is swapping Kevin Durant for Andre Kirilenko. You start AK at the 3 and bring Draymond off the bench, just because that's going to save you around 100,000 MT. And I think that personally, to me, would be a great way to make some MT back without hurting your team really at all, because I think AK and KD are on the exact same level as cards. And honestly, you could make the argument that AK is better because of how elite of a defensive card he really is. So yeah, that's what I would do, is pick up LaVine and then probably swap out AK as well to give yourself some more MT flexibility. Next squad comes from Cholo. He's got 1 million plus MT, got like almost 1.4. And this is a solid squad. He's got a pretty good base squad built. I'm just going to address this 10-man basically, and I really do like what you have going here. Josh Giddey, D'Lo isn't bad. Irving and Poole. I don't love Jordan Poole at the backup too. I think that's a bit undersized. Draymond and Mikhail, though, is solid. Jack Sigma and Unseld, also a very solid power forward duo. And then Jokic and Wiseman. Here's the thing. You got some good cards, and you got some positions that I'd upgrade, but thankfully you have 1.4 million MT, which gives you the flexibility flexibility to make those upgrades. First upgrade is definitely going to be selling Jokic, and then at that point I think you have a couple of options. One, you go the more expensive route of a Kareem, a Kristaps Porzingis, or even a Yao Ming if you want to do that, or you go the budget option, which is picking up David Robinson and then having D-Rob and Wiseman as your center. So one of those four guys, I mean, you have the D-Rob as the budgeter option, and then the three most expensive top centers in the game. I would do one of those things though at the center position. Otherwise, I think your biggest flaw is going to be your backup shooting guard and backup small forward. Again, just like I've recommended for a couple of these teams, pick up Andre Kirilenko, slot him in at the 3, bring Draymond off the bench at the 3. That's going to solve that position, even though Mikal isn't a bad card. So if you wanted to hold on Mikal, you could do that as well. And then at the 2, I will say the shooting guard position is a little bit of a tough position to upgrade, at least for a reasonable amount of MT. But one guy who I think goes a little bit overlooked at times, who's actually a very, very good option, is going to be somebody like Jimmy Butler, an absolutely elite defender. You slot him into the 2, bring Dr. J off the bench, and that's not going to cost you a significant amount of MT either, just 150,000 MT or so in all likelihood. Finally, I do think it wouldn't hurt to have another point guard. I do believe D'Lo is a solid option, and I think Giddey's also solid as well, but I don't think it would hurt you to get a Zach LaVine. He's very, very elite offensively, especially card that I've recommended for a couple of these other teams because I think he's the best mid-tier PG in the game. Not going to be quite as good as your Luka, or I mean, I guess on current he's better than Luka, but on next gen not as good as Luka, on current not as good as an MJ or a Ben, but he's much cheaper than those guys. So I think that's the final upgrade, is making sure that you have him and then you run Giddey or Russell depending on who you prefer off the bench. So that's how I'd work on upgrading this team, and that would also leave you with a lot of MT left over to still work with. Next squad today comes in from Gravel the GOAT. He's got 800k and has a very, very solid base team. Magic and Harden, Seti and Mullen, AK and Draymond, Jermaine and Jokic, and Yao and D-Rob. One quick, simple upgrade, just put Jack Sikma in for Jokic. Jack Sikma's cheaper and he's better. That's a quick, easy upgrade, gonna save you 40,000 MT or so and get you an actually upgraded power forward. Next, I think at that point, because that's just an upgrade that's not gonna cost you any MT, it's gonna actually gain you MT. So you're still looking at 850,000 MT to play with. And I'm going to actually recommend that you go get yourself a Ben Simmons. I think Magic and Harden are decent options, but I really do think Ben is going to allow you to take your defense to the next level and also give you that elite mashing, slashing PG who can knock down open shots as well. And since you have a primary ball handler at your 2s in Seti and Chris Mullen, you can run Ben at the 1 and then your preference between Magic and Harden at the backup 1 and sell the other card. And that's still going to leave you with probably 400,000 MT left over at least. Potentially even more than that, 500, 600,000 MT left over to play with. So it's not going to cost you a crazy amount, and I think that's a worthwhile upgrade for sure. That's going to really take your team to the next level. So definitely pick up Sigma, and then honestly, I'd pick up Ben Simmons. I think it's going to be worth it for your squad. Second to last team today comes in from Maison, current gen with 15k MT. Thinks he can get to about 60k. So we'll say about 60k. And my first thing about this team, I think when you have guys like this, like D'Lo, Kevin Huerter, Cade Cunningham at the end of your bench, just honestly get rid of them. I think making the MT, just running a 10-man and give yourself more MT flexible by selling guys like this who at least have some value. That's something I would definitely do to get you up closer to 100, 150,000 MT. The next thing I would be looking to do, though, in all honesty, as much as I love Ben Simmons, when you have a team like this that could use upgrading in a couple different positions, sell Ben and replace him with a slightly more budget option. I think you can get Zach LaVine, play LaVine and Wade as your PGs, and then you can have a starting lineup of LaVine, Vince Carter, Scotty Barnes, Jermaine O'Neal, and D-Rob. And then off your bench, you can go D-Wade. I would swap Glenn Rice for Julius Erving. Erving is going to be the better card and not much more expensive at all. And then same thing. Set back up small forward position. I would definitely pick up one of Andre Kirilenko or Draymond Green. Actually, for this team, with the amount of MT you have, although I guess when you sell Ben, you're going to have a lot more MT, I would probably go Draymond. And then you can have Draymond at the 3 and one of Scotty Barnes or Rudy Gay at the backup 3. And then at the backup 4, easy upgrade is just going to be Jack Sigma. He's going to hold it down. He's much better than Chris Webber. So that'll give you a 10-man of something like LaVine, Vince Carter, Draymond, Jermaine, and D-Rob with Dwayne Wade, Dr. J, Rudy Gay, Jack Sigma, and Ralph off the bench. And I think that 10-man right there gives you a better chance to win consistently. And honestly, you'll probably have more MT left over than you have right now. Final squad today comes in from 41 season. He's got 370k, plays on current gen. MJ, Albert King, AK, D-Rob, and Yao Ming is an elite starting lineup. D-Rose, Mullen, Worthy, Jermaine, and Artis Gilmore is a super solid bench as well. Artis is a great card who I still think is very, very close to on the level of a Kareem and KP. I think he's right up there with those guys. And since you already have him locked in, definitely worth continuing to run. One thing I will recommend for this team specifically, and it's all I don't know. I don't like D Rose's lack of height at this point in the year. I think it's going to be valuable for you to swap him out for a guy who I have not recommended yet in this video, and that's going to be Magic Johnson. I think Magic gives you elite size and decent, pretty good SIGs and playmaking ability. Not going to be the greatest shooter in the world, but he's definitely not going to be bad in that area, and he's a really good defender as well. So for me, I'd sell Rose, pick up Magic at the backup PG, and I think that's going to give you more size and defense off your bench, which is going to be valuable. And besides that, I don't know of any upgrades that I'd personally be making to this team right now. You have a great squad already built. I just think giving yourself more size off the bench with a guy like Magic is the way to go. But yeah, that is going to do it for this video. If you did enjoy it, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe if you want to be involved in a future episode of this series. Like I said, follow me on Twitter, be on the lookout for a tweet about this series on Friday nights, and drop your team there. But if you did enjoy the video, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more 2K content very soon, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.